Hey, what's good, everybody? It's me, Tim Keys, and I'm back with another video. Today, I wanted to talk about the best DAW in 2021. What is the best DAW that you can get in 2021? And to be quite frank, it all depends on what you want for features, how you want to work, and what you are willing to pay for. So, with that being said, if you can work that out, there are quite a few options to choose from. And in this video, I even have some free options that you can use if you're getting started and whatnot. That being said, let's get started. Right now, the first DAW I got up on the list is Ableton. And Ableton has been around for years, over 20 years to be exact. And Ableton is quite nice in its feature set. There isn't a whole lot that you can't do in Ableton at this point because they have given you all of the features needed to support audio, support video, mixing, mastering. A lot of people are using Ableton. There are three different tiers to choose from between intro, standard, and light. This doesn't include excuse me, intro, standard, and suite. This doesn't include the light edition that comes with certain software bundles and hardware bundle packages. I would say if you have light, I definitely would not go the intro route just because there's so much overlap between light and intro. The limitations are very similar. So if you have light, I would just say stick with that or find a version of that as opposed to getting intro. But then there's standard. Standard is about 400 to 500 bucks. And then there's suite. I would say if you got the money, go for suite because suite will allow you to have all of the plugins that come standard, such as your analog, your bass, your collision, your CV instruments, your electric, all the good stuff really comes with the suite package. Suite costs somewhere between 700 to 800 bucks. Sometimes if you wait till Christmas or around the Black Friday sales, you can get push. You can get the push along with suite for about the price of 700 to 800 bucks. So I would definitely say if you have the money, and money is no limitation, get the suite. If you're more on a budget but want some of the features, like the basic audio handling features, I would say get standard and then build from there with your own plugin libraries. So yeah, the only downside I would say, the strengths I would say with Ableton is its ability to handle audio, and it's pretty stable. The interface is very much streamlined. And if you don't like the visuals, you can now do a lot to customize those visuals and make it look how you want to. Shout out to Ableton and whoever came up with that to allow you to change the themes in your DAW because that goes a long way. The visual aesthetics, if you will, for creating music. And again, it's very good for handling audio. Some people don't like the session mode and that's overwhelming, but you can always change that to like having a regular linear sequencer. And the price point is kind of high, but honestly, once you buy into it, even if you can find a used license, make sure you get a transfer. If you can find a used license and get the transfer to you and then build from there, it's worth it. It's worth the money. I've used it. I have version 9. I bought that not too long ago. And it's pretty good, I will say, for what it does. Going to the next one, FL Studio. FL Studio has been around for a minute. Again, most of these DAWs have been around for at least, many of these DAWs have been around for over 20 years that I have put on this list. FL Studio is great in that it has a nice pattern-based sequencer. The piano roll, the piano editor is very good. And one thing about this particular program, it was made by non-musicians. So it has a very approachable, interface for a lot of people, and an approachable workflow, especially for people who are not necessarily musically inclined. However, if you are a musician, you can get busy on this product. It has multiple tiers to choose from, including your standard version, the fruity version, 99 bucks. For 99 bucks, you get Flex. Flex is amazing. I will give a shout out to them for the Flex engine. I've played with it. It is remarkable. It's very much a rompler, but under the hood, it implements all of your major synthesis, basis, wavetable, FM, subtractive to make those sounds. But the interface used is very straightforward. So for 100 bucks, you get Flex, which a lot of people compare it, be it erroneously, to Omnisphere, but it is a good plugin. At 200 bucks, you can get all of your basic features, more audio functions. If you're trying to record, definitely get this product. If you got a little bit more money, in my opinion, I would go with the $300 mark coming out the gate. Now they have, as of this year, they have dropped the price of the plugins edition, or all plugins edition. It used to be over 800 bucks. Now it's 500. And, I will say, as a drawback to FL Studio, handling audio in terms of doing stuff like comping, I don't think you can do comping. I don't think you could do multi-track recording. I could be wrong, but from my experience, it has a very particular workflow when it comes to how it uses audio. You can record vocals in it. I've seen people do it. There are countless videos on YouTube. And so it can be done. I just don't know about the multi-track recording. On the other hand, it has lifetime free updates. So you buy it once, you're good. With that being said, if I had the money starting out from the gate, this would be the one I'd highly recommend, because there are so many different synths that are in this particular bundle. Your Harmers, your Morphines, your Ogons. If you want pretty much every different type of synthesis you can think of at your fingertips, go for this one. And I don't think you would have to reach out much for different plugins if you had this version. But any of the three will do for your major recording work. And again, free lifetime updates. And it's been used by a lot of people in the industry. A lot of your modern music has been made with FL Studio. In particular, a lot of your EDM and a lot of your modern trap music. Next on the list is Cubase. Cubase has been around again. Cubase is probably one of the oldest DAWs that I will talk about in this video. And there's a reason that they have been around for so long. They have pretty much been very stable and consistent in their products and what they offer. Again, it's a good product to use. They offer multiple tiers of their software that you can use, from LE all the way up to Pro. I've used LE version 10, thought it was great. A little overwhelmed at first coming from different DAWs. I definitely will go back and use it some more. But I use a lot of their plugins, their Retrolog, their Halion, their Pad Shop Pros are all great products. And so I definitely recommend giving them a shout, or giving them a tryout, pardon me. They also are the ones that are responsible for creating the VST format. So if you got a lot of plugins, I would say Cubase is probably going to offer you one of the more stable experiences, especially if you're using a lot of plugins, just because they are the ones who created that format. You got multiple versions to choose from. And I will say, even as a on the basics, if you got Cubase elements, they do a good job in terms of providing you audio tracks. You get 16 audio tracks to work with out of the gate. Most light or limited editions to their DAWs will generally give you like 8. Like you'll have 8 total. Like Ableton Light gives you, I think, 8 total tracks to work with. So does MPC Beats. They give you 8 total tracks to work with. I think MPC Beats gives you 8 MIDI and then 2 audio. I think Ableton just gives you 8 total. They may in fact give you 8 audio and 8 MIDI, but this gives you 16 audio tracks to work with and 24 MIDI tracks. So if you're just starting out, if you can find this at a good price point, you can, in theory, stay on this for a long time and then just build your plugins around it as you need to. This also does very well with how it works with hardware. And I've heard a lot of people talk about if you're into hardware and you want to sync up your hardware with your software, use Cubase. It's pretty much a very well-rounded DAW that can meet your needs from handling audio to MIDI. The only drawback I will say is I think Cubase will prompt their customers to update on not just the whole updates, like if you go from Cubase 10 to Cubase 11, but also if you were to go from Cubase 10 to 10.5, that would be a paid update. And I'm not certain on how much those price points cost, but I don't think they're too bad. But I would recommend checking them out. Offer linear workflow, straightforward, but it's a standard in the music business, or a staple in the music business for a reason. Next up, I'm gonna do a free one. I am going to go with Traction. And Traction has been around for a while. They kind of went under for a little bit and then had a resurgence in the last few years. They're now on Waveform Pro. I've used Waveform 11, the free edition, and it's nice because they don't have any limitations in, you know, how many tracks you can use. You can have an unlimited amount of audio tracks, an unlimited amount of MIDI tracks. They do VST3 support. They VST3 support, VST2 support. I don't think they do 32-bit. I'm not sure. They also have some features when it comes to MIDI generation, where if you struggle with chord progressions and things of that nature, it will really do things to kind of help out with that. So if you're someone who is into the, you know, you're inquisitive about like a sound pack, a MIDI loop pack, I would check this out. Even the free version gives you a standard 4 oscillator synth, as well as the 4 oscillator synth, as well as a drum rack. And again, you could put your own plugins in. I think the price point, I want to go here and check it. Yep, for the basics, 120. Sometimes this is on sale. You can catch it for 60. They have their standard license at 250. I would honestly go between here and here. You get, at the standard version, you get Auto-Tune and Melodyne. If you know anything about these, then you know the value that they have in terms of their usage. And I'm presuming, I'm not 100% certain, but if you get Melodyne Essential, you have a license that can be upgraded to Melodyne Studio. So if you know anything about Melodyne, then you know why that's kind of, you know, a perk for having this product. But definitely check it out. The free version is nice. If you're just getting started and you're limited on funds, I highly recommend it. I'll go to Reason. I've done quite a few videos on Reason. It is the primary DAW that I use. It is my main DAW. I will say the strengths of Reason. Reason has become very accessible in this last year with offering a subscription for $20 a month. You can use the entire DAW, all of the rack extensions that come with it, all of the effects, all of the gadgets that, they provide standard. You can get for $20 a month. I would just, I apologize. I just want to point out that getting the subscription, the offerings are very different compared to the perpetual license. So things like the certain synthesizers, if you will, in the perpetual license, you have less of compared to the subscription. So the subscription is going to have a lot more instruments, a lot more racks, a lot more stuff than the perpetual license. So if you're somebody that just wants to access certain sounds and get those sounds and get to work, and you just need it, or you just want to have it for a project, I would say go with Plus. If you want to have the perpetual license, then yeah, just know that you're not going to get as much. Generally speaking, for the Reason 12 user coming out the gate, if you just bought it clean, you would get this, these, that, and all of these and that. You don't get these at the bottom. So they're about 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 instruments that you won't have. There are a couple of effects that you won't have, and quite a few MIDI effects that you also won't have. But one thing about Reason, you get an instrument-based workflow because everything is laid out in a rack-based format. The workflow itself is very linear beyond that. So once you get past being overwhelmed about the instrument being in front of you, the workflow itself is very linear, but you get a more semi-visual experience when it comes to the synthesizers. So that's been their claim to fame. The drawbacks with Reason are, if you buy this product, I will say their updates usually leave a lot to be desired. They are behind in their offerings compared to other DAWs. So no VST3 support, no video support. Depending on how you work with audio, you may want to try something a little bit different, like an Ableton or even a Bitwig. But that being said, it has a good sound, and give it a try. The price point is $500 for the DAW and $200 to upgrade. So there's that. And for what you get, if you're starting out, you might want to go in a different direction if you're not using the subscription. All right, moving on. The next one is a free DAW. Used to be Sonar Pro, now is Cakewalk. Cakewalk became Cakewalk back in 2018 after Sonar went under. However, this is a free DAW. I don't know how many plugins in terms of instruments come in standard, but you get a lot of mixing plugins that are built into the DAW for free, and you get a lot of good quality stuff. This program has video support. It will allow you to do scoring within the DAW itself. You have a built-in bridge, so you get to do, if you need to use your old 32-bit VSTs along with the VST3 support, you have all of that. You don't need to pay third party to have a bridge. This already comes built in. It's also touch enabled. I don't have a touch screen, so I can't verify how well this works, but the sheer fact that it's available, it has ARA support, I would recommend giving this a shot. Even if it's not your main DAW, you can definitely do a lot of mixing with this. And if you were someone who used Pro Tools and didn't like, going to a subscription, pardon me, then this would be my option. I highly recommend it for anybody that's starting out or anybody that's advanced in their music creating journey. Good product. And it's free. Next is Pro Tools. Pro Tools is considered an industry standard in the business. It has, for the past decade gone to a subscription-based model. However, you can get Pro Tools first for free and try it out. And you get 16 audio tracks and 16 MIDI tracks and 16 instrument tracks to choose. If you just want to get started in music and you want to have that experience of using the so-called industry standard, get Pro Tools first. Other than that, everything else is going to cost you from month to month, and you will use it, you will not own it. I think this is $80 a month. This would be ideal for someone who operated as an LLC and had their own studio per se on a professional level, and they had clients coming in. This would be more ideal. If you're a beat maker, if you're a beat maker, if you're an in-house producer, if you don't have that many clients coming in and you don't have all of those legal dynamics you have to deal with and having an LLC, you're just starting out, try this one. Try this one. You get quite a few different plugins to use, including the Air plugins. Anybody that's been on Plugin Boutique, you know what the Air plugins are, and they offer some good quality stuff. They actually make a lot of stuff with the MPC software. So if you're a fan of what has been happening with the MPC software world in terms of their plugins internally, that is because of the Air Music Company. They make great products, and a lot of those products are in this DAW as well. So I would say check it out. Next is Logic Pro. Logic Pro is exclusive to Apple. So if you have a PC, this is not for you. But for Apple users, this is for you. It is the big brother of GarageBand, and it is quite powerful, and it has evolved with this last update. I think they're currently on version 10, maybe 11. Don't bite my head off, I'm not certain. But Logic is great. I've known a lot of people in the business that have used Logic. I recommend it. It's only $200 if you are using Apple. So out of all the DAWs that I have mentioned so far, some of those have ranged from the price range of about 600, 500, 800, and so forth. For $200, you're getting a wonderful piece of software, and a lot of people use Logic, and a lot of people enjoy it. I've seen it and used it in certain studios, and I don't have any complaints about it. It is very much an advanced DAW, especially if you're working within the DAW itself and you're generating tones and sounds internally. Great piece of software. Boom, that's all I got for Logic. Next one, I feel like this one doesn't get enough spotlight. It is Bitwig Studio. Bitwig Studio is relatively new. It came out somewhere between the 2014-2015 time frame, and they have made some unique strides in the product. They are, the company that made them, Bitwig, is the same company or part of the same company that made Ableton. And so there's a lot of similarities in their workflow. However, there are some differences, primarily the price point. With Bitwig, your highest cost is going to be around the $400 mark. And then you have the 16-track version for $99. I would recommend getting Studio if you got the money. They have a lot of good synthesizers in the box. The thing with Bitwig that might throw some people off is it has a modular workflow when it comes to its instruments. So if you're someone that is into, you know, like a Euro rack based type of workflow or modular instruments and CV routing, Bitwig Studio is a DAW that encourages that, very much so. Beyond that, you might get overwhelmed because, again, it has a workflow similar to Ableton in that you have like a session mode and then you also have your standard linear mode. The sampler in this thing is ridiculous. I just want to put that out there. It also has great time stretching in its own right. I have not put it to the test. It also has poly note, multiple polyphonic expression, MPE. So all of your Rolly C boards, those type of keys, the guys who, if you have like your MIDI rings and you want to modulate stuff by wearing the ring and moving your hand over a pad to get different expressions, this one does it. So does Ableton, by the way, and so does Traction Waveform. Thank you. So those all will offer that type of expression. The time stretch is supposed to be really good. The instruments, I have not played with them in depth. I don't have Polymer. I have the 8-track edition. The sampler is amazing. The sampler is amazing, and it is very feature rich. The sampler in Bitwig is very much reminiscent of both Ableton's simpler and sampler combined into one with some of its own unique features. If you're into sample-based synthesis, I definitely recommend playing with this and giving it a shot. And yeah, it's very much a modular workflow. The only drawback I would say with Bitwig is that you buy the software, it's good for about a year, and then after that year is over, you will have to pay for another update. So that's the drawback with Bitwig. You buy the software, and whatever updates come out within that year time, you get. That's quote unquote their subscription. After that, if you want to get more access to updates, you have to buy again, and that access to get those updates only goes for about another year. So I would be very careful with that one and try to time out your updates in a way that you get them in conjunction when they do their major updates, like this last one they did this past year with version 4. Other than that, I'll do these last few. Reaper is another DAW that is kind of a jack of all trades. It's been around for quite some time. With Reaper is kind of like one of those DAWs. If you know how to program, you can make it be whatever you need it to be. It is very flexible in that regard. You can do custom skins, you can modify the piano roll to kind of behave like a FL Studio, but it also handles audio very well. A lot of people that used to use Pro Tools switched to Reaper because of how well it works with audio, the multi-track recording, and things of that nature. It also has video support. I think it does scoring as well, meaning if you have, you can take that MIDI, play with it, and convert it into sheet music out of the gate, which is a plus. So that's another perk to having Reaper. I will also say that it's pretty cheap to buy. So you can try it out for free, and the trial at this point is still indefinite. So if you test it out and within the next year you still haven't decided, I'm not saying you should do that, but you could do that and still have access to the product. However, for 60 bucks a month, not 60 bucks a month, pardon me, no, for $60, you can have access to the product and have all of the features. And if you buy it now, it will cover you from version 6 all the way up to version 7.99, which is, pretty neat. You also have your VST2, VST3 support, DXAU, and JS. So if you have different plugins, different plugin formats, you can use this to do whatever you need it to do. I don't know if it still supports 32-bit plugins. The last time I used it, it did. And yeah, this is one I would try out, even for $200, which is the cost of their standard license for commercial usage. Even if you're just using it for that, $200 a month, not sorry, $200 to use the product and have a license, not $200 a month, just $200, is really good for what this product offers. And I would highly suggest using it and trying it out. It offers more of a linear workflow, but most DAWs do that. So yeah, the only drawbacks to this DAW is it does not have a lot of instruments on its own. There aren't a lot of internal instruments. But with the free VST plugins out here today, I would not let that deter me from trying out this product. Last one that I'm doing, last one that I'm going to pull up is Studio One. Studio One is now on version 5, and I don't know much about it, but I've heard a lot of good things from it. It is another DAW that people who were used to using Pro Tools but decided to switch, this was their DAW of choice. It's very stable. It handles plugins very well. A lot of people that are into it, they like its workflow. Teddy Riley did a good job of putting this DAW on the map, and I think it's a good DAW to use for what it is. It is another one of those DAWs that offer a lot of chord support features. So if you're someone who needs help with music theory and getting ideas out, it definitely has a lot of that to get you started. And yeah, they have different price points. I don't know what they cost. Let's take a look. So you get the standard for $99, you get the pro version for $400, and you can get the subscription based with a lot of different features. So depending on what your needs are and what your wants are, you got different options to choose from. I would say, if you're on the fringes, if they don't have a demo, try out this one. Seems like you get a full DAW. And then if you want, go to this one. You're going to get pretty much all of the things you need to, make music. If you want more, like the score, nope, they have notation software. So if you want more of the stuff like that, then I would go this route. So yeah, I don't have any complaints about those DAWs because, I haven't used them enough to I haven't used them enough to verify one way or the other. But I haven't heard a lot of people complaining about Studio One. The last one I couldn't pull up because my computer was acting funny was MPC Software. I've done a few videos on that. They have some great features. They have some great synths, and Akai seems to really be doing a good job in supporting the MPC software. It's about $200, but if you know where to look, I think Plugin Boutique has it on sale for about $99 right now. And they've been doing a lot of free updates this past year, the past few years, with the drum synth and then the new instruments and plugins that they've added, those effects. The MPC software is the same software that runs in the MPC hardware units. So regardless if you have X, the One, or the Live, they're all using the same software. So if you're curious about the workflow of the MPC, you can try out both MPC Beats, which is free, or you can try out the software and see how you like that. And that might help you graduate to buying your first hardware unit MPC, or you might decide to keep the computer version and work through your computer, and that's totally fine because it has some great features. I don't have too many complaints about the MPC software. It doesn't offer a VST3 support. That might be a thing. I do have a video showing a workaround on how you can utilize that feature. Other than that, I think it's pretty good for what it is. You're gonna get access to a lot of premier drums, regardless if you do hip hop, trap, rock music, R&B, you'll get a lot of good drums. And that's true for the Beats Edition as well. So, wrapping this thing up, what DAW would I recommend in 2021? Honestly, I think that's going to depend on how you want to work. How you want to work and what's your workflow. They all have their different strengths and they have their different weaknesses. So there is no quote unquote perfect DAW. What I will say is if I had to start off all over again, me personally, I probably would go the Ableton route and buy into it and get the Suite Edition, even though it's the most or one of the more expensive DAWs. It would be a toss up between Ableton and or Cubase. On the other hand, if you like a pattern-based workflow and you want to spend money one time and that's it, I would go with FL Studio because they have lifetime free updates. And for all of the stigma behind the FL Studio, depending on the circles that you run into, FL Studio is a great DAW. And again, it's free lifetime updates. So, and it has, FL Studio has definitely done a good job in the last decade in in gaining traction, and a lot of people use it from Ninth Wonder to TM88 to Southside. Some of those guys have really done a good job putting that DAW on the map because that DAW has been responsible for generating some really pertinent albums. So especially Jay-Z's Black Album. Other than that, it's all going to boil down to what you find preference in and what you like. Like I said, I got Reason. I've been using it for a while. I understand what these DAWs are, their strengths and their limitations. I don't try to make one DAW do something different. I don't try to, like, you can't make Reason become FL Studio. You can't make Cubase become Traction. I can't make MPC Software become Logic. They all are going to do things differently. However, I will say the DAW that's going to offer you the most features and offer their customers the most support for the product, and the DAWs where you feel like if you buy into them, you're going to get what you paid for and you're going to get those requests met. I'll say those are the DAWs that you want to stick with. And whichever DAW you feel that can get you the desired end result the quickest, that's the DAW ultimately that you need to be using. And it doesn't matter what that DAW is. If you can get busy and you can crank out good music, then by all means use it. With that said, I'm Tim Keys and I'm out. Thank you for watching. Thank you to the new subscribers. Thank you to the old ones too. Thank you. Peace.